There once lived a Taoist man who had Taoist children who liked to play with bunny rabbits. I say that because I'm looking at a bunny rabbit outside right now, eating grass on the lawn. So beautiful. So anyways, I realized this morning when I was cooking how blessed and fortunate some of us are. And I was sitting there, I was cooking eggs, and I was listening to, it was like a 21 Pilots song or a Cave Town song or something like that. I was kind of dancing around when I was cooking the eggs. And, since this is going to be a story time one, I don't know why I just feel like making a video. Originally it was going to be a storytelling one, but I just decided to riff because of the bunny. So I was kind of dancing around, I was cooking eggs, and I was thinking about how nice my life has been in the last couple of days. And a lot of that has come down to because of the choices I've made. You know, to get proper sleep, spend time with people, do things that were meaningful, like write. So I was really happy this morning, you know, and I spent time with my buddy Steve and his kids and my friend Rob yesterday. And I wrote a new book last night before I went to bed. Because I'm done with my old book, I decided to start the new book. And it's really good. Well, at least I think it is, I guess you could say. And whether other people will think it's good, that will be determined at another time. But I don't think that really matters. I think if you do what you're passionate about, and you love what you do, if other people don't like it, you know, what you create, as far as painting, writing, music goes, doesn't really matter as long as you're in that flow state while you're creating it. You should never have the concept in your mind of what are other people going to think about this? How are people going to react to this? You know, you shouldn't even realize that you're a person or people are going to be witnessing this. Because once you start to think about such things as you're creating, you start to jump out of the flow state. And you're not creating anymore because you're not going through the channels of creation, I guess you could say. So this morning I was cooking, and I was kind of bopping around and dancing while I was cooking eggs. And then I thought how I was just this white kid, a white guy. Sometimes I refer to myself as a kid because I kind of still feel pretty young. Even though I'm 42, I kind of feel like I'm a very young person. I'm bopping around, I'm listening to this music, and I'm pretty privileged. Like, these Christmas lights everywhere, and I don't live on that much money every month, but I don't think that's relatively a factor. I think the biggest factor is because I've lived in countries where your safety is being threatened. You don't feel safe. You have chaos around you. Like, I don't have chaos around me. I have this outside. I'll show you. I mean, like, you'll see what I have outside my window. And you'll be like, oh, that guy doesn't live in chaos. That guy lives and is surrounded by beauty. He has nothing to worry about. I leave my door open, unlocked at night. It's closed, but it's unlocked. So anybody could just come up here and kill me or rob my, coffee, because I don't really have anything in my room. But I live in such a safe environment that I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to worry about anybody coming into my room and stealing anything from me. I'm surrounded by beauty, where there is no chaos. There's no threat, there's no crime, there's no violence. And I thought about how privileged I was, regardless of money, because money's not a factor. What is a factor is, do you feel safe? And that's the most important thing. So as I'm sitting there, dancing and being happy, I'm thinking, you could have that philosophy because you feel safe. But if you lived in an environment such as the ghetto, and you were surrounded by a hyper-vigilant area where you didn't know what was going to happen, you didn't know who you could trust, and anything could happen. Anything could happen. Violence, fights, people coming into your house, breaking into your house, robbing things that you owned. And then I thought, well, for me, I don't keep many things in my house. I'm a minimalist. So I would, if somebody broke into my house, they would have nothing to steal because I would probably put, my money under a tree. But then I thought if you were living in an unsafe environment, people would most likely follow you or pay attention to where you were walking away from your house, and they would see you going towards that tree, even if it was, a couple blocks away. And somebody would see you putting something under the tree or getting money underneath the tree, and the tree would most likely get robbed anyways because you don't live in a safe environment. And then I was thinking, you are so tremendously lucky and fortunate. And the fact that you're happy, in the broader sense, it really means nothing. Because you're lucky, because you're fortunate. You're a white dude that grew up in a white family that worked for the police department. You grew up really poor, but your mom married somebody that had money, and that money saved you out of poverty. Because I used to live in a really bad crime-ridden neighborhood, but my mom married somebody that had money. So we moved from the crime and the violence and the chaos, and we moved to a pretty town, like this town. It's amazing what money could do. It's amazing what being white could do. I remember this one time when I was teaching in the Middle East. I'm an international teacher when I choose to be. I have a pretty solid resume, but I should probably get back to that crap, but I don't know, maybe I will. Who the hell knows? But when I was teaching in the Middle East, I was teaching history and English in middle school, and I was walking down the street after work, and I was wearing this Abercrombie white button-down, $75 shirt. This really nice J. Crew tie. It was like $45, and I had these, khakis on and shoes and, you know, when your outfit costs $250, that kind of crap. Like, that's who I used to be. Um, and I don't, you know, that's just the way it goes, man. It's like Siddhartha, you know, in the book Siddhartha about um, Siddhartha Gautama Buddha, even though it was a fictional tale about his life. He went through trials throughout his life, and then he became a very rich man. And he wore these expensive clothes, and he was drinking, and he was gambling, and then he decided to leave all that. And I believe he was talking to his son towards the end of the book, and he said, some men need to wear all sorts and types of clothes until they find the true meaning of life, or who they were supposed to be. And I believe that's what happened to me. You know, I went to a stage in life where I became so unconcerned with money that I was spending $300 a month on GNC products to build muscle. I was spending too much money on clothes. I was traveling around the world, and I was doing all these things. And one day I was coming home from work, and I was wearing the white button down and the tie and the satchel, and I was walking home from teaching, and I passed by a crew of Bangladeshi guys coming back from building a building in town. And in the Middle East, they build with crews of Bangladeshi guys or Indian guys because they don't want to pay people to build. They want to hire crews from third world countries where they could pay them whatever they want, little money, and they don't really take care of their employees. They make them work long hour days, and in the Middle East it was about 117, 118 degrees in the daytime. Fahrenheit, 118, 119 degrees. And it was pretty much that hot that day, but I got so desensitized to the heat I could walk around in a button-down shirt and a tie, even though it was 118 degrees. You just got used to it. I'd been there for like, at the time I'd already been there for like 2 years. And so I'm passing by these guys, and the first guy looks at me, and doesn't like make eye contact. He just like gives me a scan up and down. And the Bangladeshi guys, they're all like 5'6", 5'7", some even like 5'5", and I'm, you know, 5'10" and a half, all dressed up and looking pretty. First guy scans me up and down. Second Bangladeshi guys, and these guys just got dust all over them, rags, you know, hijab things on their head, you know, to block off the heat. Been outside working all day, probably for 8-10 hours in the heat. And then the second guy passes me, and then the third Bangladeshi guy passes me, and they're all looking at me like, you lucky son of a bitch. Like, you're so fortunate to just be this white guy. From a country that gave you opportunities to grow and educate yourself and get a nice job so you could wear that pretty tie. Make that money. Not have many worries at all. Not have to work out in the heat. You know, and such sobering experiences like that make you realize, like, yeah, you could have your philosophies and you could be happy. But it's important to reflect on how other people are living. We don't see that. we only see what's in front of us, right? Like we only see. So right now I'm seeing this lawn, and I'm in this room, and I have pans around me because I just finished cooking. I'm about to work out. I'm about to go shopping. So that's what's in front of me. That's my day. So I'm trapped in this containment where I only think certain things, or I only have certain things in front of me. So that's what my makeup is. That's who I am. And my beliefs and my theories about my life or the life around me develop because of the things in front of me or the things I interact with. It's very rare that we ever think like, oh, I wonder what it would feel like to live in a ghetto right now. I wonder what it would feel like to live in a third world country, right? To, you know, go rummage through, garage dumps for food in India. Once saw this video of these children, these mothers and families rummaging through garbage, like big piles of, garbage dumps, rummaging in these piles for food, so they could have something to eat that day, because they were probably starving, and they couldn't afford anything, so they had to eat food out of garbage heaps. We don't think that way. We don't think about people like that. We really need to. I think we need to. I think one of the reasons why I started to live the way I did is because I kept seeing things like that. I've traveled to over 9 third world countries. Yeah, 9, I think. 9 third world countries. I've been in cities that were coming from an American country. They were some of the ugliest images you've ever seen, where cities are just brown, and there's so much smog and pollution that everybody's wearing gas masks and everything looks brown. Sometimes it's not even a blue sky. It's really weird. It's like a brown world. So strange. It's so strange, man. I've been to so many cities like that. The last city I was in, Hanoi, in northern Vietnam, that was a lot like that. There were some streets where you saw them and you were like, whoa, man, Jesus. I remember I saw this one box. The box was on the wall. And there's a lot of cockroaches, around the world in the countries I've been to. I've been to 21 countries, if you include the Vatican. So, yeah, and I'm not saying that to brag, I'm just saying that to give you a better idea of how much I've been around the world. But not as much as some people. Some people just destroy me on that count. So I was walking down the street, and it was the morning time. It was like around 8 o'clock, 8:30 in the morning, and it was brown, and things didn't look right. And I passed by this one building, and there were paint chips off the building, and there was this box, and they have these like boxes for electrical wires that was hanging on the wall, and in this box there were all these wires, and there were all these things, and the box was, you could tell the box was like probably like 30 years old, and it was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. I mean, it like just the building, the street, how brown the world looked. Like it was just the like what I was staring at. It was like some kind of hell dimension or something like that. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I don't even want to look at that." And I said, "No, you're gonna look at that box until it becomes beautiful." And you're gonna look at that box, and you're not gonna keep walking until you think that box looks beautiful. So I stopped, and I just kept staring at the box. I must have been there for 7, 8 minutes, and I kept looking at the box and looking at the box and looking at the box, and I tried to find the beauty in the box on the building. And then I thought to myself, and I've been training myself to do this while I was traveling the world. I said, think about the people that were building that building. Think about how they might have been laughing when they were building that. Think about how them building that fed their families. Think about how them building that building. Maybe some of them enjoyed it. They put artistic talent into it. They were in the flow state when they were doing it. They actually appreciated and loved building that building. Think about that. Think about how the person that built that box and worked on that box with those electrical wires, think about how hard it is to do that. Think about how much they had to train to get to that point where they could do that on that building. And as I thought about those things, the box became beautiful to me.